Hello everyone, and welcome to Mythstory, the show where we talk about myths from around the globe. For today's show, we're going to be discussing the central religion of Mesoamerica, Aztec mythology. The Aztec were a flourishing Mesoamerican culture from 1300 to 1521. The capital of the Aztec Empire was Tenochtitlan. During the empire, the city was built on a raised island in Lake Texcoco. Modern-day Mexico City was constructed on the ruins of Tenochtitlan. The Spanish colonization of the Americas reached the mainland during the reign of Montezuma II. In 1521, Hernán Cortés, along with an allied army of other Native Americans, conquered the Aztecs through germ warfare, siege warfare, psychological warfare, and direct combat. Lucky for us, much of their mythology still survives to this day. So let's begin from the beginning. Creation. There are two variations of the Aztec creation myth that are very popular in discussions. I picked the one that seemed to have the most support. If you would like to learn about the other creation myth, feel free to check out the Big Myth site for an overview. In the beginning, there was only chaos and the god of duality. It was both male and female. The lord of duality, Ometecutli, and the lady of duality, Omecahuatl. This god was good and bad, male and female, and gave birth to four other gods, who each preside over one of the four cardinal directions. Over the west presides Quetzalcoatl, the god of light, mercy, and wind. Over the south presides Huitzilopochtli, the god of war. Over the east presides Xipa-Totec, the god of gold, farming, and springtime. And over the north presides Tezcatlipoca, the god of judgment, night, deceit, sorcery, and the earth. These gods set out to create the world. They created many other gods and the first humans, who were giants. One of these gods had to play the part of the sun, and they would end up switching their roles as time went on. This creation model is called 5 suns. Each sun had to be replaced by a new god because the world always came to some end. Tezcatlipoca was chosen as the first sun, but either because he had lost a leg or because he was god of night, he only managed to become half a sun. The world continued on in this way for some time, but a sibling rivalry grew between Quetzalcoatl and his brother the mighty sun, who Quetzalcoatl knocked from the sky with a stone club. With no sun, the world was totally black, and in his anger, Tezcatlipoca commanded his jaguars to eat all the people. The gods created a new group of people to inhabit the earth. This time, they were normal size. Quetzalcoatl became the new sun, and as the years passed, the people of the earth grew less and less civilized and stopped showing proper honor to the gods. As a result, Tezcatlipoca demonstrated his power and authority as a god of sorcery and judgment by turning the animalistic people into monkeys. Quetzalcoatl, who had loved the flawed people as they were, became upset and blew all the monkeys from the face of the earth with a mighty hurricane. He then stepped down as the sun to create a new people. Tlaloc, the god of rain, became the next sun. But Tezcatlipoca seduced and stole his wife Xochiquetzal, the goddess of sex, flowers, and corn. Tlaloc then refused to do anything other than wallow in his own grief, so a great drought swept the world. The people's prayers for rain annoyed the grieving sun, and he refused to allow it to rain. But the people continued to beg him. Then, in a fit of rage, he answered their prayers with a great downpour of fire. It continued to rain fire until the entire earth had burned away. The gods then had to construct a whole new earth from the ashes. The next sun, and also Tlaloc's wife, was Xochiquetzal. She was very loving toward the people, but Tezcatlipoca was not. Both the people and Xochiquetzal felt his judgment when he told the water goddess that she was not truly loving and only faked kindness out of selfishness to gain the people's praise. Xochiquetzal was so crushed by these words that she cried blood for the next 52 years, causing a horrific flood that drowned everyone on Earth. During the 5th sun, the current one, humans would once again walk the Earth. Quetzalcoatl rescues humanity. Quetzalcoatl would not simply stand by as the gods continued to kill people. He needed to save them. So he asked for the help of his brother, Xolotl, the god with the face of a hound. Xolotl said, "I am Xolotl, the evening star. Every night I lead the sun down to Mictlan, the Aztec hell, to die. I know the way to the land of the dead and will guide us there." Quetzalcoatl, with his wise old face and brilliant feathers, said, "I am Quetzalcoatl, the morning star. Every morning I lead the sun back out of Mictlan to be reborn with the dawn. I know the way out of the land of the dead, and I will guide us back home to the sweet paradise, Tamaunchan, the Aztec heaven." They retraced the path that the sun took every night down into the depths of the underworld, all the way to the palace of the Lord of the Dead. "We must be careful," Quetzalcoatl said. "I know Lord Mictlantecutli will not be pleased by our request. He is a wily god and may try to trap us." Xolotl agreed, and they cautiously proceeded to the throne of the Lord and Lady of the Dead. Quetzalcoatl approached the Lord of Mictlan, who sat on his throne surrounded by spiders and owls, as well as the bones of humans, piled up like treasure. "I've come for the bones, the precious bones, the jade bones," said Quetzalcoatl. "Can I have them in order to populate the earth?" Mictlantecutli replied, "And how do I benefit from this? No, I don't think I'll give up my splendid bones. If I give them to you, I'll never get them back, and I'll be poorer for it. No, you can't have my bones." Quetzalcoatl had anticipated this. "Oh no, you misunderstand me. We don't intend to keep the bones. We just want to borrow them. The humans would be mortal, and would eventually return to you, just like how everything else is born and eventually dies, even the sun itself. Only we, the gods, live forever. You wouldn't really lose anything in the end, and in the meantime, your fame would grow." Lady Mictlantecutli looked pleased by these words. Lord Mictlantecutli considered them, then spoke. An interesting idea. All right, you can have the bones. If," continued Mictlantecutli, and Xolotl froze, "if you can play my conch shell trumpet and circle my kingdom 4 times in honor of me." He handed Quetzalcoatl a conch shell that did not look like any kind of instrument, and they left the chamber. Xolotl looked at the trumpet in dismay. The conch shell couldn't make a sound. "He's trying to trick us." "I've got a plan," said Quetzalcoatl, and he called the worms and other gnawing insects, and ordered them to chew holes into the conch shell. Then he took the shell and held it up, and summoned the bees to climb inside through the holes and buzz loudly. The sound echoed through the shadowy realm like a trumpet blast. Quetzalcoatl and Xolotl came back into the room and asked for the bones. "Very well then," said Mictlantecutli. "You can have them for now, but the humans will not be immortal. They must die again someday and return to me just as you had said earlier." The gods agreed, gathered up the bones, and left. Lady Mictlantecutli looked terrified. "Our treasure! We can't let them carry it off. Of course we won't. I may have said they could have the bones. I never said they could leave my kingdom with them." And then he ordered some of his servants to dig a pit along the path that the 2 gods must take to escape, and others to chase after them. The gods were able to escape, but lost some of the bones along the way. All the gods got together and sprinkled the bones with their blood, restoring them to life, and thus humankind was born from the penance of the gods themselves. Journey of a Princess. When the Aztecs settled down on a magical island that had appeared, they did not go to war as they usually did. They still had to feed their hungry gods, but they used their own people instead of captives. That's what their god had told them to do. After a while, the Aztec emperor sent a message to a nearby tribe, inviting the chief's daughter to visit the Aztec capital and meet his son. His invitation was accepted. The princess of the nearby tribe arrived at the capital city, with many servants and many presents for the royal family. She was delighted to meet the emperor's son. They had a lovely dinner together. By the end of the evening, she was more than willing to become his bride. A few days later, her father arrived in Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital city. He expected to discuss what goods his daughter would bring to her marriage with the emperor's son. That's when he heard that his daughter and her many attendants had been sacrificed to feed the many hungry Aztec gods. In fact, he probably would have been sacrificed himself, only fortunately for him, he had traveled to the city with many armed guards. The emperor tried to explain that it was an honor to be sacrificed, but the chief would have none of it. He hurried home to his people, and the very next day sent his army to destroy the awful Aztec people. As their god had told them to do, the Aztecs had taken time to grow in strength before they had contacted this nearby king. Their young men had become capable warriors, they had many weapons, and they won easily. The Aztecs demanded tribute in the form of jewels, food, clothing, and of course captives to feed their hungry gods. That made the Aztecs very happy. The Aztecs went on to conquer other tribes in the area, and that made them very rich. There aren't many Aztec tales that aren't related to creation. Most of the mythology is just the story of the 5 suns or expansions on it. I was lucky to find some that had nothing to do with it. Aztec mythology is very in-depth and contains a very rich story. Thanks for watching this episode of Mythstory on Aztec mythology. Make sure to like and subscribe and tell us what mythology you want us to cover next in the comments below. And if you really love us, consider supporting us on Patreon. We'll see you next time.